Your ability to do these 4 things can make or break your organization, but most people overlook the time and energy required to fully understand and apply them to their leadership style. Have you heard the quote, "You can catch more flies with honey"? For many, leadership is synonymous with taskmasters, unapproachability, or just plain meanness. As you begin building or adjusting your leadership skills, I think transitional leadership is something you are going to want to hear more about. I think it'll be very helpful to your effort. So stick around to the end, and I'm going to share with you those 4 components of transitional leadership that are going to make or break your organization and help you improve your leadership style. All right, so I have my notes over here. So if you see me referring to them, it's because I want to make sure that I get it right for you. But we're going to start off with, what is transitional leadership? All right. Transitional leadership is a leadership style that uses encouragement as a tool to achieve the overall success of an organization. The goal is to raise morale and self-confidence of a team so that team can then align itself to an overall vision or common purpose. All right. So if you boil it all down, transitional leadership is really about motivating, inspiring, and giving your team what they need to fulfill the vision or the goals of the overall organization. So there are 4 attributes to transitional leadership success. And let me share them with you. They are highly liked and they are seen as role models. They are inspirational and motivational. They have a desire to stimulate people intellectually, and they're considerate of other people. So these are some attributes that a transitional leader holds. So you may find that you have some or all of these attributes, which means it could be a very good idea for you to keep listening to learn about how you can incorporate some of the skills within this leadership style into the way you are leading in your organization, in your community, or in your workplace. So transitional leaders invest in the success of those around them. So it is not a all me or a selfish attitude leader. That's where some of that meanness and, unapproachability comes from. When people just don't have a sense of consideration, they're really not doing it for the benefit of the team, more so for themselves. Sometimes we've all been there with that boss. But transitional leaders really are invested in the success of each individual person on the team. So why is it difficult then for people to actually achieve this level of leadership or this leadership style? Well, I came up with some information that I think you might enjoy. Now, and I'm going to get to a little bit later those 4 things that you really need to have, because they can make or break your ability to lead your organization in a successful way. But before I get there, I want to talk about some of the reasons that I shouldn't say a lot of people. I want to talk about some of the reasons that implementing this type of leadership style could be difficult. And it's really because I think we don't consider the time and energy that is associated or that is needed in order to incorporate this type of leadership style in your organization or even around you. I mean, just in life in general. Leadership, you're a leader, whether you are leading in your business, leading at church, or leading, you're a leader anyway. And so just those relationships, I think that these attributes and ideas can be helpful. But there are lots of reasons why people struggle with this leadership style. And a lot of it is because they don't consider that in order for you to be able to do some of these things, there is a lot of time that has to be invested in understanding the people that you are working with. There's a lot of effort involved in trying to make sure that each individual person has what they need to accomplish the goal that is set in front of them, which in turn will help to accomplish the overall goal of the team or the organization. So again, people overlook that time and energy and that effort that is typically required of a transitional leader. All right, so let's look at that a little bit closely. The overlooked time. So where would a transitional leader be investing their time? Well, in the relationship building. when you have close relationships with people, it takes time, right? You don't just meet someone for the first time and you just all of a sudden have the relationship where they trust you. They're willing to do whatever it is you ask them to do. They're willing to sacrifice things for you. That does not happen overnight. It takes an investment of your time to build that relationship, to get to know the person that you are working with. Maybe you are leading. All right. So as a leader, you must invest that time to get to a point where your team feels like you are investing in them, and then they would therefore want to reciprocate that investment and invest in whatever goal or whatever ask it is that you have of them. You have to understand here, I think this is important when I'm working with businesses and I'm consulting with them on team building or their hiring practices. I look at it just like I do a marketing project. Your employees are attracted to certain things in the workplace. So therefore, you have to create a culture within your business that is built from sort of you, what you like, how you want your business to run. If you are, say, the leader of a ministry, you have to think about the culture of that ministry and how you want people to feel when they come into that culture. And that needs to be established first. And then when you're going out and you are looking for employees or you're looking for people to join your group or your nonprofit or whatever it is, now you are able to speak intelligently about what the benefit is of working with you. You can speak to the culture of your business and begin to attract the right people in the first place, people who are invested or at least interested in what it is your organization is doing. So when you're hiring people, you want to look for those people who will fit nicely and seamlessly into the culture that you created for your business. If you've not created a culture for your business, your team, if you're an employer and you're a manager, or if you haven't created a culture for your ministry or your nonprofit, if you've created something along those lines, then when you go out to start pulling in people to help you with your ministry or your organization or your business, you won't have a framework through which to evaluate the people that you are bringing on. So this takes time to create that type of a culture. And then it also in turn, it's going to take a little bit of time to then find those people that you can invest in and that you feel will invest in and understand the culture that you've created. So this requires knowing your business. It requires setting up systems and processes so that they can be duplicable. And when you start pulling people in, they'll understand your vision. They will have a buy-in to your vision because you've chosen people who who fit within the culture that you've created. Also, when you are creating and when you find these people, it makes it easier for you to understand what will motivate them and encourage them and inspire them to fulfill their obligation in whatever their role is that you've assigned to them to help you and the organization achieve its overall goal. I also say here, I put this point here because to manage your time, it's also important for you to understand your own personal framework. What are your strengths, limitations, desires, and non-negotiables? And that is going to help you to build out the culture of your business, your team, or your organization. And that in turn is going to sort of inform how you look at those candidates that are coming in. It's going to help you create, like I said, those systems and processes. That are going to be the attractive things to those people who are looking to work with you or that you're looking to pull into your organization. So that's time. That takes a lot of time to not only figure it out for yourself. That's the first step. Like what is that framework that you want to build your culture on? And then how do you then go about finding people that will work within the culture of that organization and make it easier for you to identify their needs and their strengths and their personal framework so that you can then, as a transitional leader, you can then cater to that strength. You can help them mitigate those limitations. You can provide the desires that they have, and you can minimize the chances of, stepping on toes and hitting those non-negotiables. So I think that it really does take time. And because people don't realize that, they aren't capable or they're not ready or prepared to become the type of leader that is more motivating and inspirational. Okay, now that we've looked at time and how people overlook that, let's look at energy. This is another reason, or effort. This is another reason that it could be difficult for people to achieve that transitional leadership style for themselves. So what is the energy required of a transformational leader? Well, you have to identify the individuals and their needs. So a transitional leader identifies the needs of their team so that they can optimize their productivity, their morale. The energy also is required to create and define the goals of the organization or the structure in the first place. When we're leading, we're influencing people. We are encouraging, we are motivating, we are inspiring. We are allowing them to contribute in their own special way because we brought them to the table for a certain reason. Well, we have to define those goals, right? We have to define them, and then we have to guide, as transitional leaders, guide our team to not only achieve the goal, but to achieve the buy-in of the goal in the first place, and then help them use their strengths to fall in alignment with the goal itself for the overall benefit of the company, organization, community, whatever it is. So it requires a lot of mental and emotional energy to do this because it takes a lot to not only come up with the idea, but then you've got to get the buy-in from everyone. And that means you have to really dig deep into your abilities as a leader to do these things. All right, so now that we've talked about what transitional leadership is and why some people struggle with it, and that is really not understanding the time and effort and energy that is involved in being a transitional leader, let's talk about how using this transitional leadership style in your business or your community or your organization could make all the difference in the world in your ability to be successful. Okay? Well, the thing is, because transitional leaders focus on supervision and achieving organizational goals through a system of rewards and reprimands, it's easier to foster and maintain the company culture. Using a transitional leadership style within your community provides a more stimulating, motivating, and inspirational, and even more considerate approach to achieving the overall objective of a project. Let's say if you're a ministry leader and you have a project for your ministry, if you take a more considerate, more approachable, more motivating and inspirational approach, you tend to get more out of your team, and the event or the project tends to be more successful when people feel like they have a buy-in and they are actually a part of the solution or the ability to achieve the goal in the first place. Transitional leadership can reinvigorate a team that maybe has lost its mojo. I mean, it's happened a lot of times when there is a transition in leadership. Maybe a company gets purchased, or maybe there is a new program or process that has been implemented into an organization. You may find that morale is lower. Maybe someone leaves that was an integral part of the group, and morale can decrease. But as a transitional leader, your ability to encourage and motivate and inspire people is very helpful in reinvigorating the team and helping them to become more productive and more invested in the outcome of whatever it is that you're doing. So I don't know where you are in this process, but as I was researching transitional leadership, it just became more and more clear to me that it's worth the investment of the time and energy, because it seems to me that you get more out of the people around you. You get a bigger buy-in when you learn really what is needed within that team, and for each individual person of the team having some interest to provide that level of influence and invest that amount of time and energy proves to be quite beneficial to whatever project it is you have going on. So how do you inspire these people in the workplace and help them come together as a unit using transitional leadership style? Well, again, it's your role or your responsibility to define the goals. And this is time consuming. Understanding what it is you want to achieve with your business, understanding what the objective is that your team needs to meet if you are the manager, knowing how you want a specific ministry to run or club you may be the president of, what you want those outcomes to be. You have to be the one to define that. And then as a transitional leader, it's important for you to then guide people to that end result. There has to be a buy-in. That's why it's so important when you are pulling people on your team, when you're hiring people, when you are building out your business and scaling your business, really being mindful of creating a culture and then bringing in people that are in alignment with that culture, and then helping them to helping to inspire and motivate them to buy into the goal that you define for them and their role, and helping them understand that you trust, that they can trust you as much as you want to trust them is very important as a leader using this transitional. I'm sorry. I've been saying transitional and I mean transformational. I'm sorry. It's transformational. Oh, long day already. Sorry about that, guys. Transformational leadership is where I've gone this whole time talking about transitional, but I meant transformational leadership. My apologies. That is what we're talking about. Transformational leadership. Your role as a transformational leader is to align the objectives of not only the individual, the leader, and the group, but to do that, align all of this under the goals of the overall organization, group, business. So it's important as the leader to know exactly what the goal is, have defined it clearly and concisely, and then be able to help those that you are leading to buy into the goal as well. All right, so you might be watching this right now and thinking, oh my gosh, I could never pull something like this off. This level of leadership sounds like it is just quite time consuming and it is just going to pull way out of me that I feel comfortable giving. But I assure you, you can do it. All it takes is getting a little bit of clarity, a little bit of certainty, and building your confidence. And I promise you, you can do it because I happen to offer a solution to the problem. My program, Project CEO, is my signature program. And in it, I hold your hand while you journey towards your personal CEO status. There are 6 phases, and each one offers a layer of personal growth that ultimately leads to a foundation of self-awareness, boundaries, and communication. All right. Now that I have shared this amazing resource with you, let's get back to more information about transformational leadership. All right. I promised you that I would share with you those 4 components of transformational leadership. And here they are. I truly believe that in cultivating these components within yourself, thinking about them, and implementing them into your leadership style, you will see tremendous success in your business, in the organization that you run, or the team that you manage. So let's look at these 4 components right now. You have idealized influence. Now, this is someone who is very charismatic, someone that people look up to. They are inspired by the energy when they walk into a room. These people, when you are at this level of charisma, you are giving praise where it's due, but you're also taking responsibility for the things that don't go well. You are providing constructive feedback when constructive feedback is needed. You listen actively here. This is what that influence is coming from. It's a charisma that gives you this edge and this ability to do these things, and people are receptive to it. Also, finding innovative solutions to problems and creating new and dynamic paths for your team to follow. This is how, this is a characteristic or a component of transformational leadership, idolize influence, that if you can harness this, it'll go a long way in helping you to motivate and inspire your team. The next component is inspirational motivation. All right, so it's one thing to motivate somebody, but how are you motivating them? Are you inspiring them? Are you giving them what they need to like take the reins for themselves and like run off in the sunset and get the things done? Okay, so inspirational motivation is a commitment to a vision that encourages other people to do the same. And the way that that commitment is shared and then subsequently encourages others is it raises the spirits of the people. It fosters somewhat of a community where people want to be a part of it. And it also fosters a sense of purpose. People feel like that they are accomplishing something or they're making their value. There's value to what it is that they're doing. So here is a big deal, though. You have to have some level of communication, and you have to know and really have some understanding of the various communication styles, because your team is going to be made up of very different people. Even though they may have all bought into the culture, they may all communicate differently. So it's important to understand the different communication styles here if you want to be able to really motivate in an inspirational way. You want to be able to speak their language. Now, inside my book, I have a book called the BTB, Be the Brand Business Journal. And inside of it, I have outlined all the different or the 4 main communication styles. And not only am I sharing the communication styles, but I'm also giving you sort of how, if you were to communicate with someone with that style, how that person would be able to receive what it is you're saying. I've seen this, these 4 communication styles in other books and throughout my research. But the one thing I think my book has that is different and makes it a little bit more unique than the other information out there is that it doesn't just share with you the 4 basic communication styles. It takes it a step further to show you not only if you are one communication style, how you need to speak to the other communication styles and vice versa. It really does give insight. So I highly encourage you to grab that book. I will make sure that I link it down below. Also here, when you are motivating inspirationally or with inspirational motivation, you're bringing energy into the room and you're raising the level of enthusiasm in the room. You're also recognizing the smallest things that can turn into bigger issues. So you have your nose to the ground. And in order for you to stay in a place where you can inspire and motivate, you're looking for those things that could cause potential problems and you're nipping them in the bud before they happen. So what does this do exactly when you have the ability to do this and you're keeping your nose to the ground? Well, it fosters trust in those people on your team and it pushes them forward. It makes them want to move forward and continue on the charge of achieving the goal, and it builds confidence. Your team will have confidence in you in the fact that you have their back because you're looking for those things. You're being diligent and you're making sure that they are safe and protected from those small little things that could turn into bigger things. And those bigger things could cause major challenges. So that is inspirational motivation. Now, this next component is intellectual stimulation. If you're going to be a transformational leader, that means you got to stay one step ahead of those on your team. Do your work, research, read, stay up to date on industry standards, listen to what is going on within your industry and really stay educated, stay in the know. Because when you are in the know and you have information to share, then you can use that to stimulate and encourage out of the box thinking for people on your team. Your team or the people around you, they want to feel like you trust them enough to give them a little bit more, to challenge them, right? Give them a little breathing room to figure things out. So you want to stimulate your team as a transformational leader. Challenge the normal beliefs, right? Stretch people a little bit. Some people may believe that they can't do something, but when you believe it, when you see it in them, stimulate them, make them feel like, wow, I had no idea I could do that. Push them and stretch them to their limits so that they themselves feel like they have achieved something. Also, here under intellectual stimulation, you're going to foster a sense of importance, making them feel like they are a part of the the problem solving. They are a part of the reason why you were able to achieve the goal or, complete the project or whatever the case may be. Now let's move on to the final component of transformational leadership that I think is so valuable. It's going to really help you push the needle forward in your business, organization, or ministry, or in your community. And that is individual consideration. I mentioned this before as one of the things that is a struggle for people, and that is really building that relationship individually with people to understand their personal framework. I've talked to you many times about your personal framework, your strengths, your limitations, your desires, and your non-negotiables. Well, the same way you have them, other people have them. And it would behoove you to understand the individual people on your team, in your organization, someone that you're managing, so that you can fully understand what they need to do and be their best, and you can mirror that or give that to them so that they do feel like they are successful. They do feel like they're bringing value to the table. They do feel like they are part of the solution to whatever problem there was, and then subsequently helping to fulfill or achieve the goal. So this individual consideration means that you're going to be focusing on each individual person and how they are going to affect the goal or help you reach the goal. And that's also knowing how to motivate each individual person. Inside my business journal that I was talking about earlier, I have a whole section on motivation and how people are motivated. And I think it would be very helpful if you are someone who is working with the team and you're struggling to understand how to motivate those people on your team to improve productivity or to get the buy-in that you might be looking for. I think that chapter on motivation in that book will be quite helpful. Also, emotional intelligence is extremely necessary here. You have to be able to read the room. You have to be empathetic. You have to be social. You can't be standoffish. You really have to invest in your team, and you have to invest in each individual person so that they feel like you are, you are listening, that you are valuing them as a member of the team and what they're bringing to the table. So listen, if you're watching this video and you made it this far, first of all, I want you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and make sure you are subscribed. But if you're watching this video and you made it to this point, you may not be a business owner. I understand that. You may not even be a corporate executive. I get that too. But you are a leader. You're someone who wants to do better and be better and lead in some aspect of your life. Transformational leadership is a style that optimizes your ability to influence, to move the needle, and to achieve your goals, whether it's your organization's goals or your personal goals. This is regardless of where you are. So in addition to applying them to my business, these ideas, I've done this myself. I'm working a little bit harder to implement these transformational leadership skills to my marriage ministry. As many of you may know, my husband and I are marriage ministry leaders at our church, and I really enjoy this idea of stimulating someone else's ability to think outside of the box and come up with ideas for the marriage ministry. I'm excited about really getting people's buy-ins and how we can all work together to improve the ministry, and just really considering each individual couple and their needs. So I am really trying to implement this leadership style into my marriage ministry. But that said, one of the things that I have been working really hard on over the past couple of years is my communication. So I did a video that I'm going to share with you. I think it's the next video you should watch, where I am talking about my personal struggles with communication and what I learned that really has helped me to be more clear, concise, and much more effective in the way I communicate with people. So listen, if you got one thing, if just one thing from this video was like a light bulb moment for you, or if it sort of struck a nerve and you're interested in learning more, or anything like that, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. You know that I'm trying to grow, and I would really appreciate it if you would just subscribe, and then let's talk about it in the comments. Engage with me. You know, YouTube likes it when we talk. Okay, so let's talk. Would you like for me to take it over into the post section? Maybe I'll leave a comment over there and we can continue talking about transformational leadership. You can tell me how you're implementing it in your organization. I would love to hear more about your feedback and how you've used it to increase productivity or increase buy-in, or what your employees or team members are saying about it. So let's chat. We could do it here in the comments or over in the post. Either way, I want to hear from you, and I want you to join my Boss Squad. So please subscribe. I promise you, I'll see you back here again next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.